Okay, I'm writing a letter. I'm writing it on a typewriter, which maybe some of you have never seen or heard of, but it's a fantastic machine. This is a 1923 Underwood, obviously manual typewriter. Lisa got it for me for my birthday a couple of years ago. And whenever I have to write an important letter, like this one, I actually type it out. And I don't know if you've read my book or stuff, but you see my advice is always to write 100 letters a month, and only to CEOs, because they're the only ones who can do anything. And whenever I write these letters, I type them. And I type them for a reason. And that's because when you type something, people take it seriously. It's a funny thing when you write a thing on a typewriter. Of course, we all write on word processors now, or actually I'm just doing video, which actually takes less effort than writing on a word processor or a computer or a laptop or a phone, which I can't stand because of the little buttons. But when you type something on a typewriter, you have to think about what you're writing before you write it, because you can't make a mistake. I don't have correct-to-type. I don't have that little white stuff that you paint on the thing. All I have is my ideas and the keyboard. And when I write a letter like this, as you can see from this one, no mistakes. One. All right, but I typed over it. But the point of this is that writing on a typewriter requires that you really think about what you're writing, because there's no going back. There's no deleting a paragraph. There's no taking out some words and then thinking about it later. It's forever on paper, and if you mess it up, you have to start all over again. When I was in Lawrence Junior High School, which is a long time ago, we were required to take shop courses, industrial arts they called it, along with academic courses. So I took woodworking, and I made a bookshelf. And I took metalworking, and I made a dustpan. I don't know where it is. And we took typing from Miss Chaffee, and with manual typewriters, because that's all they had. And so when we took the typing course with Miss Chaffee, I remember show me your eye finger. When we took the manual typing course with Miss Chaffee, I think, we were all sort of contemptuous. We weren't going to be secretaries. I understand that she'll have sex to us. Some of the girls in the room would be secretaries. But we weren't going to be secretaries. We were like lawyers and stuff, and we would have secretaries working for us. But thank God for the school, we were required to learn how to type. And today I can still do 60 words a minute without any mistakes. Now, of course, in the world of computers, it turned out that typing was absolutely essential. Thank you, Ms. Chaffee. But when I started to write letters on this manual typewriter, something else happened which was much more interesting. I had to start to pay attention to what I was writing. I couldn't just sit down and bang stuff out like I would on a computer and go, oh, that's no good, take that out. Oh, let me lift that paragraph there. Let me rip this thing out. What was here had to be there in kind of one step with no room for corrections. This is interesting because when we teach video journalism, which we're going to do September in London, and then October in New York, come to the boot camp, we teach people to shoot on a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's just like writing on a manual typewriter. The discipline is exactly the same. You can shoot tons and tons of video and have this giant pile of crap that then you have to spend hours or days or weeks, if you're making programming, or months, or sometimes years, culling through and picking out the little bits and pieces that you like and then jamming the thing back together. The advantage of that is fat thinking. You don't really have to think about anything. You just kind of let it roll and see what happens. Well, I can't do fat thinking here. I can't just bang a bunch of letters and then see what happens later. So the manual typewriter forces me to think before I write, which is actually a really cool thing, and we rarely actually do it in today's society, which is kind of a tragedy. When we teach shooting video, we teach the same thing. You have to think of what you're going to shoot before you shoot it. And when people who work for us and people who work with us for a long time shoot almost 1-to-1 video ratios. That is, they walk into any situation, and before we shoot, we always say, take 20 minutes and figure out what it is you're going to shoot before you shoot it. So you go, I need that, I need that, I need that, I don't need that, I need a soundbite from you, and I'm done. And then go and get it. And what happens is when people discipline their thinking, discipline is really lacking, unfortunately, in the television business. When they discipline their thinking, then they actually end up shooting almost 1-to-1 ratios. When I first started making reality shows like Trauma Life in the ER, which was a million years ago, we used to shoot vast ratios, and our production time to make a half hour or an hour was about 19 weeks, which is kind of industry standard. 19, you go out, you find the site, you do the survey, you go and shoot a bunch of stuff, you come back with a pile of crap, you scan through it, you get some intern to log it. It's a crazy way to work. now when we shoot stuff, when we turn around hours, our turnaround time is 6 days from initial inception until we finish. And the reason is that we force the people who work for us, or we ourselves, we force them to think before they shoot. Just like this manual typewriter, that's a lovely machine, I'll show it to you. The manual typewriter forces me to think before I write. It's a really cool thing, and it's something we don't do enough of anymore. Thinking before we write, or talk, or put something on Facebook, or Instagram, or Twitter. Anyway, that's my message for today. We're here in the English countryside. It's lovely weather. I hope you're enjoying it. I certainly am, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.